Am I wrong for telling my ex I refuse to share custody of our daughter? Morally, you may not be wrong, but as a divorce attorney, I'm going to tell you why you may be very, very wrong legally and can end up in a bit of trouble. Let's get into the facts. My ex and I have an incredibly long history. We met when I was 18 and he was 19. He was my first love and we dated for about a year. But after the breakup, we continued an on and off again friends with benefits relationship until I turned 23. A friends with benefits situation is never ideal, but let's see where it takes us. Which was also around the same time that I found out I was pregnant. Oh geez. Friends with benefits equals pregnancy. Never a good sign. He was going to school to be a doctor and he was in his second year of getting his doctorate when I found out. He also was studying in another state that was on the other side of the country. I got pregnant during one of his visits back home. That's usually how it happens. When I found out I was pregnant, I told him immediately. He was very, very angry. Wouldn't you be angry? That's why I always say friends with benefits is not a good idea. He was very, very angry and asked what I was going to do about it. I told him I'd be keeping it and he told me he wanted no parts in the child's life because it was going to ruin everything for him. How are you going to decide whether that's an option for him when it doesn't sound like you guys discussed what you would do if you got pregnant prior to you getting pregnant? I myself grew up with my birth father jumping in and out of the picture, and it's a big stem of my mental illnesses now, all things that he knew. After begging him to be in the baby's life throughout almost my entire pregnancy, one day he and his parents called me and offered me a deal. What can this deal be? They offered me a very hefty child support until the day that the child turns 18 if I never forced him to be a real father. His parents, who are very wealthy, promised to take care of everything. Well, that is a good offer, but I definitely understand that she wants the father to actually be a part of the child's life. And in my opinion, no amount of child support can replace the actual physical presence of a parent. At first, I said no. I refused and called them all a-holes and told them my baby was going to have a dad. But after talking to many of my friends and family, they thought it was best that I take the offer. They told me there was no use in forcing him to be a bad dad to my baby. I finally agreed about 8 months into my pregnancy. And honestly, that's the best choice because he probably would have been a bad parent and your child would have picked up on it. I took sole custody, of course. It's been 7 years and I had a beautiful baby girl that I love more than anything on earth. Every single month I get a check and not once has it ever been late. I haven't seen or talked to my ex since the day he handed me the first check until about a week ago. And this is where we're going to get into the drama to determine whether she's legally or morally wrong or both. I get a call and it's my ex. He tells me he wants to take joint custody of our daughter, the daughter he has never met in his or her life ever. I was infuriated and told him no. He told me that I can't just say no because he's going to take me to court where a judge will decide. Now, this is where we get into the legal stuff. And before I explain whether she's legally wrong, make sure you guys are commenting down below what you think should happen in this situation. I was crying and screaming and asking why he was doing this. He told me he was sorry, but he's ready to be a father and he wants to be there for our daughter. How are you just gonna come in 7 years later talk about I'm ready to be a dad after all the late nights are already done? When I told him I was going to fight him with every fiber in my being to make sure he got nothing, he told me I was being ridiculous and I need to grow up. I've told my friends and family and almost all of them have told me I need to give him a chance and that I'm just being a Wait a minute, aren't these the same people that told you to take the money and run? Now they're telling you that you absolutely need to give him a chance? What is up with your friends and family? Are they still all the same people? Oh my gosh, this would really make me mad. The only person that agrees with me is my mother, who watched me get torn apart by my father's constant jumping in and out of my life when I was a child. I know that this is going to be a hard fight and ultimately it is the court's decision, but I just feel like I need to fight this. So, am I wrong for being so against him getting custody? So y'all already know what to do. Make sure you're commenting down below and letting us know your thoughts. So, is she wrong? Honestly and personally, I don't think that she is morally incorrect because she has raised this child for 7 years all by herself with no help from the father. He can't just waltz in and all of a sudden decide that he's ready to be a father after she has done most of the hard work. Now she's 7, so there's still going to be some hard work to go forward, but she has done all the late nights, the bottle feeds, the breastfeeding, whatever it took to get that baby up, walking, talking, and thriving as it seems like she is doing. So personally and morally, I would be just as upset as the mother. However, and you know we're going to get into it, legally, she is wrong. Legally, he can fight her in the court. and let's talk about why. For those of you who do not know, I am a California attorney, so we're going to be talking about this through a California lens. I'm not quite sure where this poster is from, but they may have different laws in their state. And just a reminder, this is not legal advice. This is just my opinion based on my legal experience. If you have a similar situation, make sure you're consulting with an attorney in your state. So let's turn to the law and determine why the mom might be screwed if this goes to court. What the mom is probably feeling is that dad should not be able to be a part of the child's life after he abandoned her. And by all intents and purposes, it does seem like he abandoned her. But there are a few ways under the law in which a parent can abandon a child. We're gonna zone in on the one where one parent abandons the child and leaves them with the other parent, not with any third party. So the law says one parent has left the child in the care and custody of the other parent for a period of 1 year without any provision for the child support or without communication from the parent, with the intent on the part of the parent to abandon the child. Now we all know the beginning of the story. This father absolutely intended to abandon the child. He wanted no parts in the child's life. However, where the mom is going to lose in this situation is that he is providing child support for the child. So his parents are paying the child support on his behalf. Now there can be an argument as to whether that is considered child support from him or whether it's not, and she can make that argument. It would be completely up to a judge to decide whether that is child support coming from him or from the parents. I'm thinking the court is going to lean more towards giving the dad credit for that because it's coming from his side of the family. They all sat down and had the agreement. The parents are just the ones that are happening to pay it. As you can see, under California law, all he has to do is abandon her for 1 year. He abandoned her for 7. So she would probably definitely qualify for this law if it wasn't for the child support. Now let's say that the court did not consider that child support as coming from the father. Where the mother messed up in this situation is that she did not file a case requesting to terminate the father's parental rights. If you never file, if you never ask to terminate the rights, then his rights will remain. So since she never filed anything, he can take her to court at any point. Now, is he going to automatically get joint custody? Probably not. It will most likely start off as visitation, maybe even supervised visitation. The dad may be ordered to go to therapy or reunification with the child, but at some point he's going to get some type of visitation with her, whether that's supervised visitation, unsupervised visitation, or joint custody. But more likely than not, as long as he's not a dangerous person, he is going to get some type of visitation with his child. While personally and morally I agree with mom being upset, unfortunately it's just not the law. But luckily we do have an update, so let's see how this turned out. The poster writes, "Hey guys, so I wanted to give an update since some of you were kind of worried about me and my daughter. So I made a very hard decision. After many people's advice and opinions, I decided to ask my daughter what she wanted." That's actually a smart idea that I didn't think of because the daughter is 7 years old. After a very long and hard conversation with my daughter, she did tell me that she would like to meet him. I don't want to say much more about that. Can't lie, it hurt my heart, but I remember being that excited every time my mother told me about my father. It's good that she's listening to her daughter's opinion and working through it. I called him and asked him if he would like to meet me for coffee. After the way you yelled at him, I would probably be scared, but let's see. He told me he thought that would be great and we set it up. Seeing my ex again was incredibly hard. After a very, very long talk, we decided that if we both could be civil adults, we could stay out of court, and that's always the best choice in my opinion because the courts can be hard, long, and it doesn't always go your way. I decided to let him know that I think that he should pay for therapy for them both, and he agreed that that would be a smart decision. That is really good that they decided together for him to do that instead of being forced by courts to do the therapy, because that is most likely something that would happen in this situation where he hasn't been a part of the child's life for 7 years. They have an appointment in 2 weeks and my daughter is excited. I've also made it clear that there will be no second chances after this. Now, under the law, sis, you do not have that authority. We already talked about this. I'm not going to say that I'm not nervous about the whole situation. I'm actually very scared for my daughter. I want what's best for my daughter and that's it. I'm trying very hard to remember the man my ex was for me though. He was my best friend and rock for 5 years and I hope that he can be that for my daughter now. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. This is the best possible outcome. If they can work everything out without going to court, then that would be good for the father, the daughter, and the mother. Because legally we know the father is probably going to get some rights, but what's the point of going through a long drawn out process with the courts, putting all your business into public files for people to read if you guys can just agree to get along and do what's best for their daughter? I'm super happy that they decided to go to therapy together because like I said, that is something the courts probably would have ordered along with supervised visitation, which could be a whole ordeal in itself. I hope what is best for the daughter and the parents in the situation. We don't know what happens after this update, but hopefully they stay out of court. If you made it this far and you haven't yet, make sure you hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next one where the mother-in-law tried to take custody of her grandchildren from the parents. Like, why would she do that?